Chapter 24, Callum. The train journey from hell, that's what it was. A journey that ruined the rest of the day as far as I was concerned. We were on our way to Celebration Park. There were only 3 more stops to go when they got on. Police officers on a routine inspection. 2 of them, boredom plastered over their face. ID passes, please. ID passes, please. Seffi looked surprised. I wasn't. We both dug out our ID cards as they made their way up the first-class train carriage. I watched the cursory glances they gave the ID passes of all the crosses in the carriage. I was the only not. Would they stop and ask me lots of questions? Is pig poo smelly? An officer of trim build and sporting a pencil-thin mustache stood right in front of me. He looked at me, then took my ID pass without a word. Name, he snapped out. What's the matter, can't you read? Callum McGregor. Age, 15. Can't read numbers either, That's too bad. Where are you going? None of your business. Celebration Park. Why? To cut my toenails. Picnic. Where do you live? On the moon. Meadowview. Meadowview was euphemistic name only. Rubbish Shack View would have been more appropriate. The officer looked from my ID card to my face and back again. My thumbprint was on the card. Was he going to break out a magnifying glass and ask me to hold out my right hand so he could compare the imprint on the card to my print? It wouldn't have surprised me. You're a long way from home, boy. I bit down on the inside of my bottom lip, not trusting myself to speak. Both officious officials stood in front of me now. There was barely enough room to get a paperclip between their legs and my knees. I sighed. Ladies and gentlemen, for your delectation and delight, another performance of You're a Naught and Don't You Ever Forget It, Blanker Boy. Let me see your ticket. I handed it over. Where did you get the money to buy this kind of ticket? I looked up at them but didn't speak. What was there to say? They had scented blood in their nostrils and I didn't stand a chance. No matter what I said or did, so why bother? I asked you a question, Mustaches reminded me, as if I'd forgotten. Did you buy this ticket? Mustache's accomplice asked. The truth or provocation? What was Seffi thinking? I couldn't see her. The No-Brain brothers were in the way. If only I could see her face. I asked you a question, boy. Did you buy this ticket? No, I didn't, I replied. Come with us, please. Time to get my posterior pummeled. Time to get my derriere dealt with. Time to get my bum bounced right off the train. How dare I not sit in first class? It's outrageous. It's scandal. It's disgusting. Disinfect that seat at once. Officers, he's with me. I bought the tickets. Seffi was on their feet. Is there a problem? And you are? Persephone Hadley. My dad's the Home Office Minister, Kamal Hadley. Callum is my friend, Seffi said firmly. He is? Yes, he is. Seffi's voice had a steely tone to it that I'd never heard before. Not from her, anyway. I see, said Mustaches. I can give you my father's private phone number. I'm sure he'll sort out all of this in a moment. Or you'll be able to talk to Juno Eilette, his personal secretary. Careful, Seffi. I'm tripping over all those names you're dropping. So is there a problem, officer? Repeated Seffi. Sniff, sniff. Was I imagining things, or was there a definite hint of threat in the air? And I wasn't the only one to smell it. Mustaches handed back my ID pass. Would you like to see my ID pass as well? Seffi held out her pass. That won't be necessary, Miss Hadley. Mustaches almost bowed. I really don't mind. Seffi thrust it under Mustache's nose. That won't be necessary, Mustaches repeated, looking straight at Seffi. He didn't even glance at her ID card. Seffi sat back down again. Well, if you're sure. She turned to look out the window. Mustaches was effectively dismissed. Seffi's mother would have been proud. Mustaches glared at me like it was my fault. He'd been humiliated, and by a child no less, and he wanted to take it out on someone. Seffi was off limits, and now so was I. He was burning to reestablish his authority, but he couldn't. Not with us, anyways. Mustaches and his colleagues moved off down the carriage. Seffi turned to me and winked. You okay, she asked. Fine, I lied. Wasn't that fun? Not so as you'd notice. Seffi's gaze returned to the passing scenery. But I'm not going to let them or anyone else ruin my day. Celebration Park, here we come. I turned to look out of the window. I didn't want to look at Seffi. Not yet. I didn't want to blame her for the way the police treated me and every other knot I knew. I didn't want to hold her responsible for the way security guards and store detectives followed me around every time I entered a department store. And I'd stopped going into bookshops and toy shops and gift shops when I realized that no matter where I went in them, all eyes were upon me. After all, it was one of those well-known, cross-initiated facts that we knots didn't pay for anything when there was a chance of stealing it instead. I didn't want to resent Seffi for the way my education was automatically assumed to be less important than hers. I didn't want to hate her because she was across and different from me. So I carried on looking out of the window, pushing the knot of loathing deeper inside me, deeper and deeper, the way I always did. No, I didn't want to look at Seffi. Not yet. Not yet.